Welcome, everybody. We are here for my brother Paul Willis. Dropped a book, album, and a curriculum. Everybody coming in.
Mm-hmm.
All right, y'all.
My God.
I'm your moderator today. My name is Ryan Newman. I'm one of his mentees.
Oh, man.
I'm one of his mentees, man. But I want y'all to clap it up for Paul Willis one time. Give him some love.
Thank you.
He's done something very monumental here today. And we want to celebrate him. And I got a few questions. You hear me? I got a few questions here we're going to ask. And then we're going to also get into some Q&A towards the end as well. All right. Who's that? The first question we got. Paul Willis, tell us what this Hip Hop Leadership Project is all about. Give us the basics.
Yeah, I'm down. Good evening, everybody. So, Hip Hop Leadership is a album, a book, and curriculum on leadership values and how those values get demonstrated in hip hop culture and through hip hop culture. And this project really started with these essential questions. And really mainly because I had just left my last job. I was the managing director of the biggest black music festival in Boston. And it was like 80, 90-hour weeks, and I wanted my creative life back. I had so much more I wanted to offer the world. And, Wonderland, it came out in the middle of a pandemic. I had a big transition from Sacramento back to Boston. And, that project kind of took on two different lives. But it really inspired kind of this work now, because Wonderland had, an album, it had a hip hop lookbook, it had a documentary, it had a curriculum, and a lot of those things were like first time innovations for me on the music side, because of the pandemic, people couldn't go out to shows. So the experience of music was fundamentally changed because of the pandemic. So those other offerings were ways for people to be at home, be safe, but to be able to have something engaging to talk about. But when I was thinking about, some of the topics of just being home, thinking about gentrification, a lot of the social issues that a lot of cities experience, they were very localized, right, to this kind of urban experience, and it wasn't a universal thing. And so when I was thinking about the next project, it was like, what is something that is universal, we can all identify with? And for me, it was leadership. I had gone through City Year. We received a ton of leadership development training through City Year, right? Youth development certifications, trauma-informed training, was, thinking about my work even in Soul Collective and organizing, right? Families in Leah Tata Floyd, right? Supporting students and communities really all over the city. There was an opportunity to think about all of these people with all of these really unique and amazing stories that weren't getting highlighted in the SAC-B, that weren't getting highlighted in the 30 under 30, 40 under 40 list. I was almost nominated for a 40 under 40 list.
Yeah, I remember that.
But they told me it was going to cost me like $10,000 for a table, and I was like, no thanks. No thanks, I can't do it. And no one in my community is going to do that. And when I was, training with NELP, right, the Nehemiah Emerging Leaders Program, and we were having this conversation about how do we spotlight, right, all of these people who are often overlooked, and how do we champion these stories that are often unheard. I had a conversation with Maya Wallace, who's right here in the room. We got Kiana Williamson on the phone, who was the Equity Lab editor at the time for the Bee. And we had this conversation around, what would it mean to start like a Change Makers Award, where it's not based on, your title, but really your impact in community, right? And so those were like seeds of this project, because what was even missing in those worlds was what I was seeing in hip hop, right? There were hip hop artists in the city who were professors and college counselors, who were teachers, who were leading after school programs. There's a hip hop artist in the back of the room who became the president of the school board where his kids were in the district. What's up, Chinua?
Hey.
And I tell some of Chinua's story in the book. There are people like, LaRussell, right, who out of the Bay Area, and obviously he's exploded, right, over the past couple of years. But when I started writing about his story, right, he wasn't the national figure that we know him to be now. And it's funny because many years ago, there was definitely a So Far Sound show where we have LaRussell on camera, holding a camera, right, trying to uplift and tell the story of another artist from the Bay Area who was bigger than he was at the time, right? Mm-hmm. And so there are like special moments where you see hip hop artists, creatives, entrepreneurs really step to the forefront and lead in powerful ways, but their stories weren't being told anywhere. And so I thought, this is the thing, right? There's leadership that exists in many different cultures. It can be defined in many different ways, but the one thing that is universal is the idea and concept of values, right? And what that looks like from country to country, language to language. When you think about leadership values and what does respect mean, right? What does it mean to be authentic? What does it mean to be inclusive across these different cultures? There's a reason why I think hip hop has exploded to be this global entity, right? That's been recognized by the United Nations, that exists where people are dirt poor, right? And have never met a black person in their life, but are hitting crump moves and spinning on their head and doing all these things that are really rooted in the African tradition, right? And so, when I think about leadership values, I thought about the values that I wrote about for the book: authenticity, self-expression, inclusivity, empowerment, resilience, collaboration, storytelling, empathy, adaptability, evolution, social commentary, advocacy, right? Thought about ownership, entrepreneurship, which I think is a pretty obvious one in our culture, and then community building. And there are some other ones too that kind of like don't fit in those categories, but I thought that these were a really good place to start, this conversation, and to really look at these values through these three questions. It was, how do I recognize these values in myself? Am I demonstrating these values in my everyday kind of actions and work in hip hop culture and in community? And if I can recognize it in myself, then where do I see it in my local community? Who are those other people, right? So are they individuals? Are they schools? Are they organizations that exist in my community who are leading with these values in mind? And then when we look in the pop culture level, do they exist in that space, right? In the hip hop as pop culture level. And if they don't exist, why is that? Let's examine that. And let's then ask the next question of what can we do to put those values back into that space, right? And the stories that I tell in the book are people who exist at that level, who demonstrate these values, but those stories aren't being told. But I think those other questions are equally as important to explore. So it started kind of there with those essential questions, with that kind of like backing and framing. And then it turned into, in the exploration process with my students that I was piloting the curriculum with, it turned into, you have this amazing idea about Nelson Mandela, this quote that you pulled from him. That sounds like it's a dope hook. Can we use that as part of our song? Yeah, absolutely, cool. Now it's the song. Somebody else comes with an idea and I'm like, hey, that's a really cool idea. Can I explore that more, right? Can I write about this for the book? Yes, sure. Right? It's this collaborative process. At the end, I had an album and a book, right, and this whole kind of curriculum ready to go. My students had new songs, new music videos, right, new pieces of art that they were ready to engage the world in. That was extremely intentional and purpose-filled.
Yeah, man, you've been working in this space as an educator and a creator for so long. How did you come about creating this right now? Like, what made you want to do the project right now? What was that process of like, I'm gonna go ahead and do the book?
Yeah. So this started about 2 years ago, right? And at that time, you gotta think it's, we're starting to see the beginnings of campaign season, We're starting to see the messages, right, across our entire country. And when you look at just the timing of the release of this book, with everything that was going on, the book has been finished since like January. You know, but like the publishing process and getting the business right and kind of, you know, developing the website, all that stuff, it takes a couple months to make sure that the package is ready for the world to see. But the book has been ready since like, you know, that time. The album's been done since maybe November or December, you know, 2024. And so when you think about the timing, a lot of the messages in it, it's, you know, looking at our local community politics, which I've always done. But when you see what's happening across our nation and across our world, you realize that people can't say the things that they need to say, right? Like, we have no way of holding certain leaders accountable, and, you know, the people who are supposed to hold them accountable don't have backbone or a set of values and beliefs, right, that allowed them to do that. And then those who did either like quit or were forced out, you know, of their positions. And so now we're in this mess where we have, you know, national, international leadership, right, without values guiding their decisions, right, and without factoring in how those decisions impact so many people's lives. Saw this one reel, it was an interview between whoever the vice president is and some conservative news journalist. And he asked him, like, do you know how many people live in Iran? He's like, you're thinking about going war with a country, but you're not even considering the fact, you don't even know how many people live in this country. And you're just talking loosely about bombing, right, this place. There's over 90 million people who live there, right? Like, that's more than half of the United States right now. Right, so just the consequences of these kind of decisions and how you make those decisions and what your belief system is and what that's grounded in, right? Like that's this thing about values, right? And who teaches us that? You know, who taught you that was okay? That was an okay decision to make, right? To see the world in the way that you do, right? And if you don't have teachers who are talking about it, if you don't have parents who revisit that conversation with you over and over, if you don't have peers who hold you accountable on a regular basis to the decisions that you make, then you get lost in the sauce. And I feel like that's just where we're at right now. So that's kind of why, you know, I've always kind of talked about social issues in my music, and I know Wonderland was a little bit more of a kind of personal reflection about family and home and kind of all of these feelings and stories, but kind of coming back to, you know, the roots and the purpose of my music. A lot of my favorite artists talked about these types of things in their music. You know, my critical consciousness didn't develop in school, it developed in hip hop culture. You know, it was Talib Kweli, Mos Def, Common, right, Black Thought, The Roots. It were these artists who were talking about what was happening in our cities. They named authors for books that they were reading. They talked about political philosophies, Pan-Africanism, like all of these things that, you know, none of my teachers taught me about, you know? And so, you know, reading, researching, listening to poets, engaging in these topics through the arts, it just made it more important that if I was going to talk about something like hip hop leadership, then I had to also, you know, put it in the context of what's happening in our world today.
Wow. It's like you took the hip hop leadership and the education, infused it, and it became like a weapon almost to, I guess not say weapon, but a force to come into the educational system, because values is born to a lot of kids.
I get it.
Good thing, you know, kids want to do all the bad things, especially the influence of the music nowadays. But my question, I got another question. Since you've been in the school system for such a long period of time, and I know you've seen generations of, I'm not trying to say you like super old, but you know, I know you've seen generations, but it seemed like you know how to navigate each generation. You always know how to grab the youth, but you making the values cool. You know what I'm saying? You're making them to where they can actually digest them and receive them. what would you say, like, how are you doing that?
It should be cool to be a stand-up individual.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, when you're somebody that nobody can trust, like, that's not cool. That's not a good feeling.
Yeah.
You know, I know people want to be gangster and hard and tough and, you know, kind of that kind of thing. But when you sit with those feelings and you realize how isolating that can be, it's difficult to find people you can connect with, find people who you can be your authentic self with, right? And so for me, it's just important to kind of tap into what makes you human, right? And I've been that angry kid, super resentful. I've had those feelings. I understand kind of what that's about. My own experiences, family issues, right? Like my mom was addicted to drugs and alcohol growing up. There's no father's name on my birth certificate. My grandmother was raising like 5, 6 kids at a time, you know, on a nurse's, you know, salary, right? But also thinking about the traumas and experiences my mom and my grandmother went through, you know, even coming here to this country. Nobody believes that my grandma had the education she had. She got her nursing degree from Oxford in England. You know, she's from Kingston, Jamaica. And when she went to go buy her house, you know, in Boston, she had to have her white supervisor come and co-sign on the house because nobody believed that she had the money or the education to do that. And so a lot of that stuff, right, is kind of the unpacking of, you know, the facades and the masks that sometimes we put on ourselves or sometimes that the world puts on us, right? And when you see that with young people, when you see that with them, you gotta give them a lot of grace. They have no language for this. You know, I didn't learn about addiction and the connection between the brain and the body or language around trauma until college. You know, I had a girlfriend in college who studied psychology.
Yeah.
And she had a textbook open, chapter on addiction, and it was the first time I had seen like my life in front of me. You know what I mean? I was like, give me that. Like, what is this? Like, you have to study this? I know this. I live like the effects and the consequences of that. But I didn't really know how to deal with it. I was just shocked that people were studying like what I had been living and experiencing, you know. And so when I got to City Year and we started talking about cycles of oppression, trauma-informed training, and kind of, you know, these different techniques with working with children, it was an opportunity for me to take a step back and say, you know what, if I am coaching a kid in their healing process, and obviously I'm not a therapist, I'm not a psychologist or any of these things, then I can't tell them to do something that I haven't done. So I have to use these techniques myself before I can say to somebody else, yo, that works. Because it works for me, it might work for you, right? And even though that this technique didn't work for me, you could try it, because maybe that's what you need, right? And kind of learning styles and how to give and receive feedback and all these kinds of things kind of went into that process. And so, you know, for me, it's, you know, I give young people a lot of grace. I have less patience for adults. That's a real thing. That's like one of my flaws. Like, it's just what it is. But, you know, I'm trying to be better about that, right? And recognizing that adults don't have this language either. Man. You know, and it's rare that you get put in a situation where people are talking about mental health or trauma or, you know, the science, you know, brain science and how neurochemicals work and new synapses are, you know, being built and all this kind of stuff. That's rare that you walk into a room of people who understand that and are doing work around that. And so for me, it's like, you know, how do you make it cool? You infuse it, right? It's part of the swagger. But also it's like, it's how you treat people, you know? So, you know, if I can show up and give you grace, show you kindness, even on your worst days, you know what I mean? Like, you remember that because you're like, you know what? That person was really good to me. You know what I mean? And so I'm gonna remember that even if I'm not happy with them in any particular moment.
Yeah.
Years down the line, I'm gonna see them and I'm gonna welcome that person in.
Yeah, man, that's powerful.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people. Nah, he got me too. Man. I performed with Paul. What was it? It was So Far, right?
Uh-huh.
The first show we did together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he got me and he welcomed me and helped me with a lot. And, a lot of things that I do now, speaking. He helped me do my first speaking. What was that? Creative Mornings.
Mm-hmm.
Creative Mornings. So yeah, Paul Willis. He's a big impact on my life as well. I definitely want to share more of that too. My next question is: who are the collaborators and partners with you on this project?
There are a lot of them. There's a lot of them.
And how did you know, like, who these are the people that I want to partner with and work with?
Mm-hmm. This actually might be a cool opportunity. Marty, can you scroll down on the website or even just click the like HHL partners at the top of the screen? If you click it, it should take you there. No, keep going down. It's like all the way at the bottom. It's the partner list. Yeah. Wow. And so there's like 16 people, organizations, like right there. But honestly, like there's probably even more.
For real.
Yeah, for real. From an organization like Beat the Odds, right? They're a creative youth development nonprofit organization, and they focus on mental health, developing those skills and kind of social awareness, but they do that through the arts, right? They do that through music production, artist development, dance, and every Monday they have what they call Marathon Mondays because they were inspired by Nipsey. And so it's community gathering, there's food, opportunities for kids to kind of talk about their week, talk about challenges in their lives that they're facing, right? And they get to do that in the presence of adults who are willing to listen, their peers who are, kind of showing them empathy at the same time. And so it's a way to kind of model, be in community, and also kind of just break bread with each other, right? It's not always like a down space, it's also a joyous space too. So they do a lot of really dope things. And then some of the artists who come out of that program are some of the best in the entire city of Boston. Like folks like Joe Saza, Sanye, right? Nemo, Maceo Mays, like those are kids who are, 22, 23, 24 years old who are like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like you saw them at the conference, so but like they take, they all produce their own music, record their own vocals, engineer their own stuff, shoot their own music videos, like all the things that like some artists will struggle to do, like they can do as an individual person, and then you team them up and they're all in the same program. It's unreal. The Beat the Odds does a lot of incredible work throughout the city, and they were a natural partner when I wanted to pilot my curriculum. We were talking, they brought me in to do a single kind of grant writing workshop for creatives, and after that, it was like, can we lock you in for a longer term, contract? And so I piloted my curriculum with them for like 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah, and we worked out of a recording studio, nonprofit recording studio in Boston is where I had class, and we would meet for about 90 minutes, and it would be interesting because I didn't think that our conversations would last that long. But like, here's a group of, again, my youngest student was maybe 14, 15 at the time, and the oldest, maybe 22, 23, and they would want to talk about these leadership values for an hour or more, in a single class. And then we would spend time with them afterwards creating. We'd have a 3-4 hour block of time, and they were kind of locked in the entire time. And so that was really special. Frugal Bookstore is up there. They're the oldest Black-owned bookstore in Boston. They've been around since before I was a child. Like it just feels like they've been around forever. And I hosted a series of creative events there on a monthly basis as a way to kind of bring new visitors and old visitors to bring them back to the bookstore, give them a reason to come back to support. Yeah. And so we did author talks, but we also brought like, crump dancers, and we did like comic arts, workshop there in that space. Other poets had their book releases there, during that time. They were really amazing partners. Rhythm and Raps, they're a black-owned vegan restaurant in Boston. And so they did the food for all of my events at like a discounted price, you know what I'm saying? And just really kind of special individuals. Joy Beats is up there. Her logo is like the third one in the row, the first row that's right there. She is a producer, a rapper, a singer, and an engineer who recorded and mixed my entire album. Yeah, and like how many women do you know are like engineers and behind the boards and like really kind of leading you through the process, right? Patty was my engineer for like 4 years, you know what I'm saying? Everything, I did between, it feels like 2017 to 2020, 2021, came out of your studio. And when I moved to Boston, it was hard to find people with that type of like knowledge and patience who wanted to lock in. But Joy's one of them people, who's just really incredible to work with. Photographers like Nicole, who just had her first art show in Brockton, David Pompel, my homie Duffy, who does Studio E90, from everything from like the book cover to the photo shoots, the high quality photos and visuals that you've seen me post in the past year. That's like those photographers. I had ideas, but I'm not a visual creator. That's not where my mind is and goes. And so I don't have a bunch of music videos. I don't have a ton of photography, but they have great vision. And so I would share my ideas and I would tell them, look, this is my idea, but I don't know how to execute this. If you can walk me through how to execute this, I'll make sure that people show up on time, that you get paid, that, you know what I mean? Like we do it right, you know what I'm saying? And they've just been incredible kind of partners in that process. And so whether it's Vilside with the merch, the custom t-shirts, this is Guido's, Guito's shop, not Guido's, Guitos because it's short for amiguitos, like little friends in Spanish. You know what I'm saying? But he saw me working on the project and he heard about it through Beat the Odds and some of the other partners, and he said, man, I want to make you a custom shirt. Can I do that? Like, I didn't approach him with the opportunity. He came to me, and so we created this shirt, and people can buy this shirt through my website. But the proceeds for this shirt don't go to me, right? They cover the costs for production for the t-shirt, company, and everything else goes to support Beat the Odds, right? And the kids programming that happens there. And so, like everybody here is like community-minded, values-based, mission-aligned, with kind of my mission and goals. And so just incredible partners, but it took a long time to just build those relationships and for people to kind of see what I was about, see what kind of path I was on, and then wanting to step in to support in that kind of way.
Man, that's incredible. You got a lot of relationships. There are
a lot of relationships in the room here.
Man, that's a blessing. How does Paul Willis continue to create and innovate through all the odds and a lot of stuff you do isn't really normal, you know what I'm saying? You be creating paths, you be doing stuff I ain't never heard of, you be creating jobs, and you just always just doing something new, something fresh, inspiring, helping more people. When I came to Boston, people was telling me about you. How does Paul Willis keep going and be creative and not let things stop you or hinder you, or to where, because most people are like hopping on trends or they're hopping on what they see, but you seem like you always just paved this unknown path. So what's the inspiration behind that, and were there any hindrances or hiccups or obstacles like trying to create this book, the album, and the curriculum?
That's a really good question. I think the first part is, how is it possible? A lot of love and support. Madi is one of those people who makes my entire life possible. And so please clap it up for Madi. But when you have a partner in life who also is on the same kind of mission, right? Marty's been a career educator, taught ethnic studies for over 10 years here in California, and then moved to Boston and coaches and trains teachers and is in community and that kind of thing. When you have somebody whose values align, then when you are talking about your goals and your dreams, and you have somebody who supports and encourages that, that makes it a lot easier. Versus being, at home or in a place where somebody's kind of talking you down or discouraging you, right? Like that's a difficult situation to want to continue to pursue. But I think when you surround yourself with people who are on the same type of mission and timing as you are, then again, it's just easier. And everything I've done, I feel like has never been done in isolation. Like it seems like, oh man, you're walking this path and it's weird because like nobody's done this before. And at the same time, it's like, yeah, but there's a group of weirdos who are also with you all the way. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that any of y'all are weird unless you want to claim that. That's fine.
I'm weird.
But when you surround yourself with creatives, with dreamers, right, with people who see a way when there's no way, then again, it's easier to kind of maintain that and to continue that. And so I think there's a African saying about, if you want to go far, go alone. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And so, that's something I've always kind of kept, at the core of who I am and how I maneuver through these, different challenges and obstacles that exist. Is that if there's a problem, we see it, we recognize it, then it's like, okay, rally the troops. You know what I'm saying? What are we gonna do about it? And then let's find a way to do it. Whether that's, changing the legislation or laws around busking here in the city of Sacramento, calling out gentrification and some of the issues in CV Circle, right? Showing up for students, right? In small ways, large ways, whatever, are those tangible things, for them. It's a heavy lift when it's just you and you make it seem like it's just you. But when you can get one other person, two other people to say, yo, I'm running this program, can you come help? Hey, we're doing a thing at the school one day, can you pull up? Yo, we're doing a conference, we need volunteers, can you be there? Right? And then community kind of steps up to supports. I think one of the things that's always been cool in my career has been whenever I performed at open mics or done shows throughout the city, make people hear what I'm talking about in the records. They come up to me after and they go, so do your kids need winter coats or money for field trips? Do you need speakers for Black History Month? Can you come to our school? Can we support in this way? What else do you need us to do? Is there's a legislation you need us to go fight for? City council you need us to go talk to, right? Money that needs to be fundraised for whatever the cause might be. That's been really cool. Like people who are fans and supporters of mine, the music is cool, but like that's not the thing that keeps them around. You know what I mean? It's the mission. It's that we are aligned in our values and our goals in that way. And so that's the thing that really keeps me going. Keeps me motivated.
Man. Community and a good woman. I need a good woman. I'm just missing that.
I told you, man. You gotta come to Boston. I'm just saying.
I feel you.
You gotta come to Boston or maybe Stockton. Maybe that's where they're at. Right, Marty?
You said nothing Stockton. Man, that's cool, man.
I'm just saying.
So.
No. You might have to travel. I'm not saying that they're not here in Sacramento. I'm just saying,
Oak Park, maybe. You don't know. So.
So we're staying right here for a second.
I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? Look, good women are everywhere, bro.
They everywhere.
The key is, what are your values?
Yeah.
What are your life goals? Are you headed in the
Are
same
you
direction?
aligned? You gotta
Right.
be aligned. Yeah.
Right. Everything else will fall into place.
That's good.
Start
That's
there.
good, man. I see that. I'm sure there was a lot of. It probably took some time to figure out like which values do I put in the book. Are there any values in the book that didn't make it, and is there going to be a second edition of the book?
This is a good question. Are there values that didn't make the cut? Yeah. yeah. There's a ton of things that people value in the world, right? Values that aren't always talked about or communicated. One of the big ones that I thought about writing about was faith. And just what being connected to something that is bigger than yourself, what does that do for people in our culture?
Yeah.
I think D1 is a great example of that, right? And starting the Platinum Pledge and, his connection, with God is something I think that should be studied, right? And realize that it's not just words with that dude, right? There's real action. And there's a saying, faith without works is dead.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so I just think that through hip hop, there's something about that, right? Where there's a spiritual connection. There's something about finding the right people at the right time. Something about divine timing and alignment. There's something about that belief.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That carries so many artists. Kariga is another artist. Who's deeply spiritual and connected, with the higher source or the higher power in that way. And, the way that takes shape in his work, in his music. He had 300 people at Harlow's holding hands, crying in the club. I'm bro, this, if hip hop could be this powerful, what else could we do? And so, there are other values that I think didn't make it this time. But will there be a second edition? We gonna see.
It took a lot to make this one.
It did. It's just I think what's cool about this this version of it is that it sparks conversations. If it leads you down the path of exploring other kinds of values, go for it. Right? And it's part of the reason that the curriculum exists is because it starts with these questions, but it just really leads you to more questions, right? The demonstration of your understanding is a creative demonstration, right? The proof of your learning, the project-based learning that happens through the curriculum, it brings you to a place where it's okay, cool, we understand what inclusivity means, and we can demonstrate this through our art and through this practice. Great, that's gonna make us better human beings. Now what else, right, is the next part, right? You might resonate with, a value evolution. Fantastic. Now, when you look at community building, that might take you down a whole other kind of path. And so, this is just really the beginning of a conversation. And I think, it's a marathon, right? This is lifelong work. This is not, we're done in a couple months and we're going to be on to the next thing. I think that this is a project that will be around forever because of, those types of questions.
Why would you say teachers, creatives, leaders should engage with your with the curriculum, the book, and the album?
That's a great question, bro. I think let's start with breaking down some of those categories because I think the reasoning might be different for different folks. I think teachers should engage with this because it's a way for them to connect with the younger generation, right? You don't have to be a hip hop artist to teach this. I'm not asking teachers to rap, right? That's not what. Please don't. If that's not what you do, then don't do that. But I do want folks to do is to reflect on how these values are showing up in their lives. And so if teachers are asking themselves those questions, answering those questions in class, honestly, with their students, it helps their students, it models for them the way the students should ask those questions for themselves and answer those questions for themselves. But it also does something with the relationship between the student and the teacher, where the student sees the teacher as like a fuller human being because they understand what this teacher is actually about. And it's rare that we get those opportunities. I know the best teachers are the ones that help you see them, right, as these full and complete human beings. They're not perfect. They're there learning with you, right? They're not just like dictating to you what it should be and how it is, and this is the only way. They're really helping you kind of explore and engage and open up your world. And I think that this gives teachers an opportunity to do that. I think if you're an artist or creative, though, in an industry that lacks values, this is a way for you to figure out who you are first. And so I think about my 15, 16-year-olds who they grew up in families that have their own sets of values, but they don't know much about the music industry. They just know, oh, my family's in poverty, I want to find a way to get them out of poverty, and I'm willing to do whatever it's going to take to get them out. Even if it means compromising themselves or putting themselves in weird situations. And so I have to have the conversations with them, right? And I encourage everybody to have conversations with young people about this specific thing, is you don't have to compromise who you are. But if you don't know who you are, let's get to know you first.
Come on.
Let's talk about this set of values right here. Look at these examples right here in the book. Let's do that self-exploration and examination before you jump into the world where it's messy and complicated, and there are people out there who are looking to also take advantage, right? I saw an interview today. What's that one artist? I don't know his name, man, but he's a really kind of big, overweight.
Oh, Dave Bullard.
That's my man. His record label said that they weren't gonna give him health insurance until he had a hit.
What?
That's insane.
Ain't that crazy? My man's needed help. He needed medicine. He needed all of these things, and his record label said, "You make a hit, it'll all take care of itself."
Wow.
So we value, right, these outcomes that mean nothing more than we value people, and that's disastrous. And so that's the thing I really want, like, our youth to understand, is that these people don't love you like that. You know what I'm saying? They don't love you like that. But the people in your life who are around you, and sometimes those people aren't always your parents right away, right? It took a long time for me and my mom to come around and have this whole reconciliation conversation and forgiveness and all this kind of stuff. But it wasn't her when I was a teenager, right? There were other adults in my life who stepped in and helped to fill some of those gaps and some of those roles. But you got to find that, right? You got to find that, search that out, seek, that. But if you don't know what that is, then you don't know where to find it. Man. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the other hard part about it. But there are some kids who I know who are like grinding, you know what I'm saying, trying to make every positive choice they can, no matter how difficult the situation is. I was in class at Hippie the other day. One of my former students, I had him in the 5th grade. He's got to be 17, 18 years old now. Came in. I feel like this kid has been selling candy in the community for like same man.
Right over here.
You know what I'm saying? But he was one of my students early on. And when I seen him, I was like, every time I've seen him, I'm like, bro, I do not want your candy. How much do you need? Whatever it is. Like, if it's $20, cool. $50, cool. Like, whatever, what you need right now. Because I'd rather you sell candy than sell drugs. You know what I'm saying? If my man's was a drug dealer, he would be,
He tried it.
Oh, Lord.
It's real. It's real. And so it's understanding that, it's going to be a harder road. It's going to be a longer road more difficult, but you're gonna find people on that road. There are people, like a bunch of y'all knew exactly what I was talking about, right? He's finding people on that road who are keeping him motivated to continue to make another positive choice day after day after day after day.
Yeah.
He may not be in a position right now to change his life,
Uh-huh.
but that's coming.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's coming, but he's got to stay on that road. And so that's the kind of thing, you know what I'm saying, that I'm just really excited about where this could go.
Yeah.
It's helping people understand, like, there's a community of people who I haven't met yet, who I haven't seen, right, who haven't yet engaged with these ideas and all of that. But they're coming if I continue to stay on this path. And so that's, you know, for young people, for artists, for creatives, for teachers, for other folks, you know, even if you're an adult and you're in the middle of your career, right? So many adults get lost, you know, in the, I am doing whatever I can to protect my salary.
Man.
You know, you don't understand how many like school leaders and like business people I've met who are like, yeah, I would love to do that, but I can't risk my job for what you're talking about. And I'm just like, damn, really?
I gotta pay the rent.
Okay, no, I get it. But also,
The moral.
you know, I'm the kind of person who I was on a job for 3 months. It was not what they told me it was going to be. And I pulled my calendar out the wall. That is not a lie. I was having lunch with Andrew Defy. We had the conversation. I said, listen, man, I'm really thinking about leaving, and here are all my reasons why. And he was like, it sounds like you don't need convincing.
You got your mind made up.
I said, okay, hold that thought. I'm gonna be right back. And I left my half sandwich, my chips there on the table. I went to my office. Marty's laughing because I packed up all my stuff. I sent my email.
Yeah.
I pulled my calendar out the wall, literally like screwdrivers and everything. Nobody stopped me. Nobody said a word.
Yeah.
It was like they didn't even care that I was there.
Yeah.
And I walked out.
Man.
Right? And so like places without values, like don't even see you. Like they don't even, you know what I mean? And so that's what I mean is that like you can get lost feeling attached to a place that would not care if you were even there. You know what I mean? And so like that's the mismatch, you know what I mean, that we need to correct, that imbalance that needs to be corrected.
Yeah.
Is, you know, when people stand up for what they believe in, when people just understand who they're about, what they're about, I think that they will then get put in better positions than whatever money or title or whatever kind of prestige they think is there for them now. What's on the other side is definitely better.
Yeah. Definitely. You need like a cameraman to go with you everywhere. Because he done done so much stuff. It's like, man, this stuff definitely people need to see it. The young people need to see it more. Because even like I said, some of the stuff you're doing, I've traveled. I've been everywhere. You know what I'm saying? You. I'm not just hyping you up because, you know what I'm saying, we cool, but you really like that. You know what I'm saying? You really helping the community and seeing, when I came to Boston, seeing all those young people impacted and definitely inspiring. So,
Thank you.
we're going to open up the floor for some questions. Did you want me to hand the mic around? Or?
Yeah, let's do that. Because we're recording the conversation. So, if you got a question, the mic cable only goes so far.
I think it reached.
It might reach you, but we might need you to stand up a little bit.
Preventing.
Yeah, we got time now.
Yeah.
My brother, welcome back to California, man.
Appreciate you, Ken.
Good to see you. Not really a question. I actually wrote, first and foremost, started a nonprofit while you were gone, Bullard Academy, and I actually wrote my first curriculum for Kings and Queens Rise this summer, and it's actually rooted in core values. And it's interesting in your book, you're talking, I haven't yet to read it, but I plan on it, making those values cool, right? And I love what you said earlier about it should be cool to be a stand-up person. And that seems to be like a lost art, especially right now here in Sacramento. One of our students that we both coached, both raised, Darrell, was killed about 3 weeks ago in CV Circle. We both coached him on the city team.
Yeah.
Great kid, he rapped, very talented, went to Indercup. And he actually came to my gym the night before he was killed in CV Circle. And the relationship we built in elementary school and just really just pouring into that kid, right? He knew a safe space was health professions. And he came Tuesday, I guess he just had got kicked out of his aunt's house or something like that in the Thomas, and he had came to CV Circle. And I seen him, you know, flashy kid, he got a nice car, got you. I'm like, man, I don't think you should be hanging out over here, but it's good to see you. But those are the core values. Like, he basically got backdoored by some kids that he grew up with. And it just seems like today it's cooler to be a snake than to be a solid individual. And I just love that you started this book and rooted in core values, bro. So I love to share my curriculum with you. And I actually brought you a gift, man.
Oh my gosh.
I designed my first shirt too. This is a Juneteenth Ball Out Academy shirt, brother, that I brought for you, man.
Fire. Thank you.
Yes, sir. That's all
Man, this is fire. I'm gonna hold this up for the camera. Y'all see me? Hey, it's lit. Monty, I told you we didn't have to buy shirts. This is fire. This is really
Man,
dope.
appreciate your work, bro.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. It's tough. That's tough. Like, it's really unfortunate because, you know, I think one of my first lessons in hip hop, talk about this in chapter 1, it's about authenticity, right? And I'm sitting in my sister's Honda Accord with her husband, and we're talking about rap because I want to rap so bad for the 6th grade talent show. I don't know how it works. You know what I mean? I don't know, set up punchlines, how to rap on beat, how you count bars, like I don't know, nothing. But he tells me that, you like listening to Bad Boy records, you like listening to Jay-Z and Rockefeller, No Limit, all the stuff that was hot in 98, DMX, everybody. He's like, but you're not a street dude. He's like, you're not a thug, you don't sell drugs, like you read books, you ride your bike. No, it's real. He wasn't dissing me, it's just, that's what it was. He was like, you read books, like, you like to ride bikes, you win contests to go to Fenway Park. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. He's like, rap about that. Yeah. He's like, it's way cooler to rap and like to be yourself, to speak your truth. You can stand out like that. Everybody else gonna sound like this. But they just sound like worse versions of Jay-Z and Big and you know what I mean, all these other folks. But when you rap like this, like you really stand out. It's so different from the norm, and so it's the thing that's gonna make you special. And I think that a lot of our young folks, they know that, but they need to be reminded and affirmed a lot. Because it's easy to betray that sense of self. It's a fast decision. It's like, that you should be doing the right thing, but you gonna do the wrong thing because you think it might give you popularity or notoriety or whatever, and so you betray that sense of self, and that adds up. Like there's a book, Your Body Keeps the Score, but also just like that stuff, it weighs on your conscience. And so, you could carry that and constantly feel, that weight of I'm betraying who I really know myself to be. And then there's the guilt that also comes with that of like, I know I'm supposed to be this way, I'm choosing to be this other way, and now I feel really bad that I can't really be my full self, right? My authentic self, but I'm now trapped in this like image and the lie, right? The mask. And so that's hard because, all of our kids need it. Even the ones that you feel like are making the worst kinds of decisions, like it's especially them. It's especially them. You know, they need somebody to kind of break through, you know, and to just be honest and real with them and to really see them, you know, and it doesn't always click right away, you know, but over time it'll come.
Those core values aren't really at home as much as, you know, maybe when we was growing up, it's far-fetched, the basics. So I feel like tools like this
book, bro, is gonna change the world.
Yeah. I gave my man Ty the other day. I was like, man, just take this book. He's like, I'm out here for the next 2 weeks. I'm promoting this book. I need you to have it. And I actually just got a grant. There's a organization back home called Grub Street. They're a writing, you know, nonprofit organization, and they will give like small grants out to, you know, different types of writers. This one was for like writers of color, you know, from the community, and you know, because of that grant, I'm able to kind of give away a certain number of books, you know, and that kind of thing. But I'm looking for more opportunities to give away more books to be able to support different kinds of programs like yours, schools and classrooms, et cetera, et cetera. But there's not, and I talked with Mommy about this too, there's rarely grants for anything hip hop related. With something that is as different as this, it's even more confusing to funders. Like it shouldn't be.
I believe you.
Like it shouldn't be, but it is because they've never seen anybody like this, right? And when you look across the country, you can start to count on all your fingers and toes how many people who actually rap and teach.
Right.
Like it's Christopher Emden, you know what I'm saying? Ninth Wonder teaches at Duke. D1 teaches at Tufts. Lupe Fiasco is teaching at MIT. Bun B is teaching at like a seminary, religious seminary school in Texas. And then the list starts to get smaller, right? It's like lesser known artists, right? People like Toki Wright, who started the first ever hip hop program in Minneapolis. He's now the director or the chair of professional music at Berklee College of Music, right? But like, who's the hip hop ed professor here in Sacramento?
Probably me.
You know what I'm saying? Like this is what I mean. This is what I mean. But we have, ready? Check this out. Like we have OGs in Boston who were rappers, no college credentials or degrees, who are now teaching college classes.
Right.
Ed OG is teaching a class, right? Acrobatic is teaching a class at the college level, right? You can turn in a hip hop album, earn your bachelor's, master's, PhD by turning in a hip hop album, right? And so like, it's changing, but it's super slow. And so that's what I'm saying. It's like there's room for this to grow, and I hope that, you know, people take it on.
Definitely.
Got any more questions?
What's up, brother? So, yeah, I wanted to know the values of black activism, you know, black abolition, black anti-fascism, how that weighed in on your process with the book. Obviously, you said, you know, the book kind of started at this turn, kind of in the beginning of the election, you know, when people are faced with the values of a very fascist like regime, and facing those questions. And I think it's like oftentimes hip hop nowadays can be viewed as apolitical, which is far from its roots, right? And we're constantly, you know, when we talk about black artists and the demographic, right, of hip hop artists, they're constantly dealing with the forces and coming up against those forces of oppression. You know, I work at a place called Creation District now in Midtown, where I'm running a recording studio, offering free recordings for unhoused youth, mostly black and queer youth. And literally just a couple weeks ago, we had the cops raid our whole place looking for a parolee. You know what I'm saying? Like, against everyone's consent. It was like an ICE raid, but it was just SAT PD, right? And the youth are having a process. They just came to the space to record some music. You know what I'm saying? Now they're dealing with, you know, kind of the fascist infiltration in their own, in some of the safest places that they know. So there's really no, there's brave spaces, but there are no safe spaces. So I just wanted to know, like how those values, right, of Black resistance really influenced the book that you wrote.
Yeah, I think there are places where it definitely shows up in the music, and then in who we decide to kind of highlight in terms of stories, right, and uplift. There's a verse, one of my students talked about remixing and sampling, right, and how we take the best parts of records, we, loop them, or find a way to kind of remix it, reproduce it, and make it something new, right, fresh. And that's how I like to kind of think about a lot of the lineage and the legacy that we come from. And it's like we gotta collab with the ancestors to remix the present, you know what I'm saying, and make that something new. But there's this almost like political philosophy and education that is also missing, in our culture because of the age of like disinformation. And so I have this one verse that goes like, coming from the lion tribe, the fireside, where the river meets the sea, Congolese survive. From the river to the sea, Palestinians alive, and Sudanese fight to be free from genocide. Forgotten war on the poor is now global. We can stream the wickedness live on social. Ban the books and TikTok, cause we got mobile. I still got Pro Tools, and I got vocals. We the People's Party, third world liberation. Rainbow Coalition, decolonization. We fight capitalism for reparations, connected through our pain, not our patience. We up, the culture missing. You feel it? This what the culture missing. You healing? I know the status quo is appealing, but what's a Black dream if it ain't freedom? You know what I'm saying? And when you kind of put it with that type of phrasing, people may not know, right? But the way that my influences would just name drop bell hooks, Maya Angelou, Angela Davis in a record, right? It forced me to go research what that's about. So when you say decolonization in the record, it's like, what is that? What does that mean? What does that look like? How do we put that into practice? This is, the People's Party, right? Third world liberation. You say things like that, that's not in my textbook. Where does that exist? Whose history is that? And just helping people understand that in this culture, we're all connected. Oppressed people from all over the world. Like this culture was born out of, the Bronx burning. FDR created the projects back in the, late 1920s, 1930s, and created the conditions for public housing. And so when you look at these policies, when you look at conditions over time, and you look at the lack of investment, it's really important to remind people of that and to really just like, some people say mix the sugar with the medicine. I was just like, just feed people the medicine.
Right.
Just feed them the medicine. You know what I mean? They'll be able to kind of get their sugar somewhere else, but like just give them medicine because, if you've ever like had a green drink or a smoothie on a day when you really needed it, your whole body starts to react differently because of it, right? Y'all know, like when it's 110 degrees out here, 115 degrees in Sacramento, and you're like, man, like I just wish I had an icy, right, or a cold kind of fruit smoothie, whatever it might be. Your whole body feels that physical change. It's the same thing when it comes to art, education, etc. You've been lied to for so long, and when the truth comes, you're like, oh, where was that? That's been missing. It's so real, it just like shakes you, and almost forces you into action, But also like having the knowledge about how to walk people through that. I know some people when they kind of wake up for the first time, Dre T talks about this a lot, people waking up in a house, that's dirty, and there's people cleaning. And they're like, why is the house dirty? Y'all been cleaning for how long? Man. You know what I mean? And like they get mad at people trying to clean the house instead of picking up a broom and clean it too, And so it's that kind of thing. It's like you gotta coach people in that awakening and help them really understand. And so, again, it's like, whether we're talking about, Nelson Mandela, there's a section on Soul Collective, you know what I mean? There's another organization in Boston called Heal the Hood, you know what I mean? And their mission is to just end suffering. You know what I'm saying? Started by my man Slim, who, was involved in that life, you know what I mean? And lost a lot of people, a whole bunch of things, but his way to like turn that around, you know what I'm saying, to like make amends, is to feed the hood. And he literally, has maybe 30, 40 volunteers every Sunday to go out, bags groceries, meat, produce to feed people. And during the week they're running after school programs, feeding youth, coaching basketball. They do open mics, for the artists and gather the artist community. You know what I mean? They give out free clothes and literature to people who need that, right? It's like a lot of the same work that we see here in certain community spaces like are happening over there. So when we amplify that story through the book, it's like, oh, this is part of that legacy, right? Like you see the work of the Black Panthers being continued through these folks like this, right? You see Nelson Mandela's work being continued through people like Coretta Bailey, right? And a whole bunch of other folks. And so there are, I think, those bridges to be made, but those are the kinds of stories that are in there. Appreciate it.
You got any more questions?
When you move back to Sac, bro?
When you coming back to Sacramento? They need.
That's a good question. I don't know, but here's what I can say is that my work is the most national that it's ever been right now. And I don't know if I could have said that a few years ago. I had goals of like, I just want to work coast to coast, be here on the West Coast and then there on the East Coast. But now it's like, oh, we're going to do a 3-city run in Texas. And how do we hit, some of those southern states? Where do we go in the Midwest? Is that Detroit? Is that Minneapolis? Is that Pittsburgh? Is that Cleveland? Where in the Midwest do we take this next? One of my goals for this project is to put it in 26 states, across the United States. I've never done anything like that. But you look up, the book hasn't been out for more than 2 months at this point, and it's already in more than 10 states right now, right? And so I think when the work brings me back to the West Coast, I'll come back to the West Coast to do stuff. And that's also the point of this here, right? I don't want y'all to just like get a book and then like walk away and then like not tell anybody, or like we don't do anything. Like that would be the wrong move. The idea is that y'all take it, digest it, share it with folks, and then you say, it'd be good to bring them back for a keynote. It'd be great to bring them back in the spring for a conference, at Natomas Charter High School, right? It'd be great if you were back for this week-long program, or maybe you're facilitating or doing whatever it might be, right? That kind of thing only happens if we collaborate and make it happen. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not the kind of artist or person that's like charging you like $10,000 for an hour. Like it's not. I'm not at that place in my career. That's ridiculous. But if we can figure it out, for travel and housing and, to make the logistics work, you know what I'm saying? We can figure out the rest. I can work to create my own kinds of opportunities in the area while I'm here in the area, right? Look at this trip as an example, right? I was at Sac State, and then LA, back here in Sac, we'll be in Oakland, right? Just found out today, we're also gonna pop out to Tieda's open mic, in Vallejo, next week. And so it's like those kinds of opportunities, some which we planned, some which we didn't plan, but that's how that happens, is, we can find those kind of cool and creative ways to make it happen, and we'll do it.
Well, congratulations, my brother.
Thank
Just to
you.
see how far you're going.
Thank you.
I think the time is now, especially when it's an attack on equity and we coming up with language.
Mm-hmm.
I truly believe hip hop is the new word that can replace equity,
Mhm.
especially for those lower states that already can't teach equity,
Mhm.
but they can teach hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
So
And they can teach leadership development.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you right
So
now,
I
look
think
on that
the time
band
is
list.
now.
It ain't leadership. I
Yeah.
promise you. It ain't
Congratulations,
leadership.
Bob.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. It's time. Patty?
Patrick Bullard, born in California. The one question I want to ask for you is, you taught kids from West Coast and East Coast, of course. What are the same practices that you give them to keep being themselves and keep everything organic and authentic that they could possibly be in hip hop, and not only that, but in their personal life as well? And you mentioned how you said, people said, hey, you're not from the streets, but you listen to Master P and all that. When you have a kid that is actually going through those same situations, what is the do you teach them the same way as other kids, or do you teach them differently? And also the second question is, how much does the book cost?
Yeah. $35. That's the easy question, because it's a book and it's an album. The QR code for the album is in the back of the book. So when you open up the back of the book here, the QR code is there. People don't pay for music no more. Cars don't even make CD players. You know what I'm saying? And so it's $35, but you get both. If you want the curriculum, you just fill out an inquiry form on the website. Can you show them the inquiry form, Adi? If you just scroll up just a little bit, on the website, you can find the inquiry form. You just click the link and it'll pop up right there. So for booking, for inquiries, etc., you just inquire and then the form will pop up. Practices. I think the first thing is it's a me thing. Like, I can't assume that because I'm black and because I rap and play basketball, that like every kid is gonna rock with me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I am like stereotypically like black in so many ways, but it is one of those things where it's like, just because you share similar interests, that doesn't mean that you automatically know how to connect with other black kids. And so for me, it's a very individual practice of like, I'm going to get to know you as a person first. And we don't have to be into all of the same things, but I want to take the time to know you individually. And it's cool if you like want to play basketball with me, if you ask me to freestyle, you ask me this or that, that's cool, we could do that. But even if you're into stuff that I'm not into, I'm still here for you, right, to serve you. And so that's, I think, a me thing. For them, though, I think there's this modeling of behavior that comes with like affirming who you are and accountability and all that kind of thing. When they see that I'm okay with being myself and with presenting who I am, like, and it doesn't have to be this like false image, I think that they welcome that, because it's so rare that they get to experience somebody like that. And then I encourage them to do the same. But you don't have to be me. You don't have to act like me. I want you to be you, but you don't always have to be the tough guy or the introverted person, right? Like all this kind of stuff. I'm gonna challenge you to kind of push yourself, outside your boundaries, but I'm also gonna tell you like, yo, it's also okay if you just wanna be by yourself in a corner. Like if you're the quiet kid and you just wanna read, that's cool, right? I might be playing basketball one day, and then I'm gonna bring my book to sit next to you while you read on a different day. You know what I mean? To like model that behavior, and also to let you know it's cool for you to be who you are, and I think what my students have respected is that you can be a range of people, and that's okay. You can have all these different kinds of interests and be a wide-ranging personality, right? Because they never get to see that. They only really get to see kind of archetypes, people who like will maintain just one specific way of being, and that's the only way that they experience that type of person or that person. You know, and I think it's okay to show them more. Yeah, so I think that's kind of part of the strategy and approach. The other thing is like I just give kids language. Tell them, you know what I'm saying? Like all your trauma-informed training, all your restorative practice, you can tell that to like a third grader, right? You can teach conflict resolution to first and second graders. Wow. I had kids at Leo Hickman, Kevin, you know this, John Dell, y'all know, right? We had second graders who would say, I just want to tell you that when you did this, you hurt my feelings and you made me feel this kind of way. And so I would just like it if you could not do this thing anymore. And like resolve a conflict better than I've seen a whole bunch of other adults, right? But like sometimes we think, oh, you're not old enough to know how to do that. But they will do what you teach them, what you model for them, right? So when you do that for them, that's what they really pick up and learn. So it's like giving language, modeling, affirming. I think that those are the strategies that will really work.
Ooh, clap it up for that one. I feel that one. And the spirit right there.
I also want to be like mindful of time. And if y'all want to book, we can absolutely do that. If you got other questions, again, like my line is always open, right? I think most folks in here have my phone number, my email, my whatever. But in case you don't, like, this is what it is. It's Paul Willis is Hip Hop, and that's everywhere. That's my Facebook, that's my Instagram, that's my YouTube channel, that's my email, that's my Cash App, that's my Venmo, that's everything, okay? Paul Willis is Hip Hop. Because I haven't had a cool rap name since the 6th grade when I was Hypotenuse. It's real, like that's a real thing.
Hypotenuse on the beat. That's crazy.
I know, it's wild, but look, there are other Paul Willises in the world. I understand that. You know what I mean? There's a Paul Willis cultural theorist. There's a Paul Willis pig farmer. But there is no other Paul Willis in the world who raps. And if you find him, I will battle him. That's an open invitation. You know what I'm saying? You find Paul Willis from London or wherever else, catching his work. But that's that's that. If you're interested in looking at anything about the book, just Hip Hop Leadership, that's where you can find it. The website is hiphopleadershipbook.com, and that's all the information that's there. So you can either find it through me and my links, or you'll find it through the book and the website directly. That's the website right there. So if you want to like scan it or like check out some of the other stuff that's there, again, you can get the t-shirt. There's updates about some of the events that I'm doing here on the West Coast during this run. I can like edit the website because I made it in Canva. And so it's like super easy for me to be able to, make updates and all that good stuff. But I just wanted to give you all of that information in case you don't have it. And if you want my phone number, because that's easier for you to just text me, I will give that to you. Okay? Awesome. Can we clap it up for Ryan? Good. Yo, if you ever need like a host, comedian, an amazing dancer, like this dude is hilarious. You know what I'm saying? Go watch his skits online. Tell them about like your channels and all that.
Yeah, follow me at Jigman23 on every platform. LinkedIn, MySpace, Black Planet. Y'all know, you know about that, huh? Everything. But yeah, Jigman23. Thank you so much.
He's dope. He's super dope. Make some noise for Patty.
Yeah.
Who brought all this amazing sound equipment here in the space. And shout out to Chinua in the back.
Yeah, the head shined up.
Chinua helped us secure this space. This is all city homes. That's Nino, if y'all know Roy Machado, and his wife Kimiyo. This is, their real estate business, right? It's one of the many kind of properties that they have, but they graciously allowed us to kind of be here in the space. If you haven't seen 12 Wax, the record store, it's like right across the street. That's also part of their business too. So feel free to go check that out. Flip a Beat Club, has regular events there. So if you're looking to find great kind of hip hop music, that's one of those places to go. And last but not least, I also want to thank Leo from Classy Hippie Tea for bringing in like waters and refreshments for everybody. He's just a super dope individual, and just his understanding of tea is out of control. Out of control. He made me this like pineapple iced tea thing the other day. I was like, I don't even know where you found the like flowers for this. This is wild. But like, go see him, support him, buy a bag of tea or something. We're gonna play some music. If you want a book, you can come and buy a book from me. I'll sign books and all that good stuff, and we'll hang out for a little bit longer. Cool. And then if you gotta go, I get it. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. But we also gonna stop recording at this point. And get to it.
One more time for Hippie News.
I don't lack talent, just opportunity. Not foolishly signing my name in perpetuity. The root of ingenuity is genius. Innovate and create in a way that leave them speechless. Don't need your approval, cause I see us. Young, gifted, and black Jesus. It's a seamless. Live long enough to see students become the teachers. Survive in America, we need some new leaders. That Tesla you bought can't save you in space. And even I get caught with the phone in my face. And now when I'm taught about the world today, I pause and give thought between the real and the fake. These rappers using AI for battles is dumb. 9 problems and that shouldn't be one. Made something out of nothing just for fun. Hip hop can change the world, each one can teach one. I don't lack talent, just opportunity. You don't lack talent, just opportunity. The world don't lack talent, just opportunity.